Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, John Myer, along with Dan Palmieri, and we're going to recap Week 17 versus the Bills. And before I give Dan his few minutes of ranting, yes, the Eagles won 13-12. Yes, 13-12. A really interesting scoring game, and we're going to go over a number of things. I want to recap what our predictions were, and Dan and I both sucked on this entire thing because who would have predicted 13-12? Dan predicted 28-24 Birds, and I did 35-24. And if you cut those in half and thirds or something, we might be close to the actual prediction. Dan, this is a very interesting game. And in fact, we should not even be upset at this game because of how well the defense plays. And I think that's going to take away how great the defense was on this entire game. But we've got to. We've got to go there. Dan, go ahead. I'm opening up the floor to you. Let it loose.
Well, I don't have to. There's a lot of things that I could rant about in this episode, as we'll get to later. But you know, we've seen this story play out a lot, and we've seen halves of football where they were great. This first half, they looked pretty damn good. I know they only scored 13 points, but they drove down the field. They ended up with 2 Jake Elliott field goals, which was a good sight to see. And, you know, they got the touchdown. They got a turnover on defense. You know, at 13-0, you got to feel really good. You know, it is the Bills. It is in Orchard Park. It is, you know, in rain, snow, sleet, whatever the hell was going on there in Buffalo. So it looked like a good half of football. But then all of a sudden, I mean, it's just such a polar opposite. You go from, you can drive down the field, you know, you're picking up yards, not at will, but you're picking up yards. And then all of a sudden, second half, they can't even get any yards. How do you go from one extreme to the next? I've seen teams where it's like, okay, we get 200 yards in the first half, and then you get, I don't know, 75 yards or whatever the hell it is in the second half. We can't even generate a goddamn yard. And there's so many things that attribute to that we'll go over, but it's just, it's embarrassing, okay? I understand it's a win. It is a win. It is a win against a top quality Super Bowl contending team, which is fantastic. And the last 2 weeks, we've just been blowing teams out. But again, it just fuels the speculation. It fuels those seeds of doubt that say, okay, we destroyed the Raiders, but it's the Raiders. We destroyed the Redskins, Commanders, Washington football team, whatever the hell they want to call themselves today. But again, it's just them. It fuels the media to not shut the hell up because that's all they're doing. All they're doing is talking about that. All they're doing is talking about, oh, Hurts sucks again. You know, and it's just, it's absolutely ridiculous. And there's a few things I want to rant about that I'll go into specifics later. But I just think that this game epitomized a lot of what the season has become. And it just, it's baffling. It really is baffling to see them play a certain way in the first half and then go to the second half and just complete polar opposite. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest with you.
Dan, you and I were texting back and forth, and you were all excited and everything like
Yes.
this. And, oh, man, this is going to be a great game, blah, blah, blah. And what did I say? I said, I am going to hold my comments into the second half because we know how this team operates. We know how it's going. And I'm not pinpointing that it is saying it's Jalen. And, in fact, you can watch the recaps of this game so much that it wasn't Jalen. There was definitely the play calling that happened. Nick Sirianni's own press conference where, you know, KP would call down a play and Sirianni would go, oh, no. Oh, wait, was that on a hot mic? And he didn't have time to change it or anything like that. I think there's going to be a new play caller come the 2026 season. There's no way they can stick with him. The offensive line, Dickerson needs to, like, step up. Jurgens, I'll tell you what, just right there is one of the key things. But you and I were texting, and I can never go into a game full confidence that they are going to play complete football. Now, they did against the Giants. They did against the Raiders. They did against the Redskins. They played a complete team and game on that one. And we should be sitting here talking about how freaking awesome the defense is and how much they played. And the defense has to carry them throughout the entire time and into the playoffs, this is going to be a little tough because 13-12, if it wasn't for Jalen Carter, I'll tell you what, it would be probably 13-13, and I was not comfortable going into overtime. And in fact, the Bills should have decided just to go for that extra freaking point instead of the 2-point. But that's a mishap on them and a great for us. But I'm right there with you, man. The entire play calling in the second half, playing not to lose, fucking sucked. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, how it was doing. Josh Allen was actually being able to throw the ball, so you know the ball's able to be thrown. And it was just ridiculous.
No, I completely agree. You know, you hit the nail on the head. You're playing not to lose. You don't play that way. We've seen it so many times. They get these leads. You know, Denver, for example, where they actually came back and lost the game. How about Dallas, where they were up 21-0? They ended up losing the game. You can't play to lose in the NFL. If you play to lose, or if you play not to lose, you might as well just call yourself the Cleveland Browns or the Las Vegas Raiders or the Giants. You know, you don't play that way. We are better on every phase of the offensive side of the ball than pretty much every team we're getting. Now, everyone's going to bite my head off and say, oh, well, no, not this year. On paper, talent-wise, we are better than every damn team that we're going to play. But we are not beating these teams handily because of the fact that it's just outrageous, these play calls, the lack of ambition, the lack of, you know, I don't know what it is, but we'll go into details here, but it's just crazy to me how we think that this is okay. And what it is, I know Sirianni comes out and says, oh, it's not okay. We didn't take our foot off the gas. Bullshit. Okay, you took your foot off the gas. I don't want to hear that shit because you definitely...
And you allowed it.
Exactly. You allowed it.
This is on Sirianni.
Well, no, and you saw what was happening, okay? You saw what was happening in the third quarter. You saw the offense can't score first down. So at what point do you make this amazing thing? It's an amazing concept. I can't believe we've never heard of it before, but it's called an in-game adjustment. When's the last time we saw that? You know, there are no in-game adjustments. It's either the game plan works and we start killing teams, or the game plan works for a half and we never adjust and the defense does. We're going against good coaching, okay, in the playoffs. There's not a bad coach in the bunch. They make in-game adjustments. If we fail to make an in-game adjustment, we are going to lose. And it is a shame because, as you said, we're going to waste what is unbelievably an epic defensive performance and seems to be every week an epic defensive performance.
Dan, going over a couple of things. First of all, let's just count all the things wrong with the offense. By the way, I think Hurts is fine. No matter how many people want to bash the guy, I don't think it's his problem. I don't think he's the one. You know, the missed throws. We've seen a couple there. But yes, he's going to have to lob it. There's no direct rockets. The weather was shitty. It was coming down rain. I was so glad I wasn't there because that would have been a horrible thing. It's not Hurts. Okay? It's not the receivers because we've seen AJ step up ever since, you know, Jeffrey Lurie and him had a conversation.
Yeah.
We've seen AJ. He's continuing blocks. He's giving effort, everything on there. Devonte Smith, his heart is in every single game. Goddard is there. And we saw them spread the ball around. They gave it to Cooper. Who else? The Calcaterra was into it. Mm-hmm. So every receiver, every tight end, they were spreading the ball around. Just look at the offensive line. We have seen Dickerson and Jurgens miss block after block after block. They're going in. It's ridiculous. We need a little bit more time for Hurts. So he's not getting rid of the ball and have to make something happen. There's your number one problem. Number two problem is KP. Sorry, your play calling, I know Sirianni had his hand in it. I don't know if this game, what he said was, listen, here's the play calling we're going to use in the first half. Yeah, you're doing good. I'm going to let you call the second half,
yeah.
And I'm not going to jump in there, which is totally wrong against the Bills. You do that on a preseason game, whatever it is, if you want to. And in fact, no play caller be like, hey, listen, I'm going to take the training wheels off of you for a little bit. Screw that crap. No way they should be doing that. And then the third problem, Sirianni for letting this shit happen. If he's acceptable of this here, we're going into week 18, week 17, he's acceptable of how shitty the offense has been performing, not just because of the play calling, but some of the players. He's the problem. He needs to fix this. I don't care what his resume looks like now. Now is the time. You're going into the playoffs. Do I have confidence they're going to make it past the first round? I have confidence that the defense is going to put up some shit, but they're going to get exhausted.
Yeah, and you saw it in this game. You know, the defense was playing lights out, and then the end of the game, they started letting things up. And understandably, I mean, the goddamn defense is on the field forever, so they're getting tired. And
they were on like 20 minutes out of the 24, whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, we had 24 minutes of time of possession, so the Bills had 35. They were 10 minutes extra is a lot of time.
Well, it's not even that, 10 minutes extra, but let's see those numbers. I didn't write them down, but those numbers are completely skewed if you just take into the second half. I mean, they were time of possession in the first half, but in the second half, it was nothing. And
Nope.
I completely agree with you. The inadequacies of this offense, and we've both been critical of so many things, you know. Is it Jalen Hurts? Is it Kevin Patullo? Is it A.J. Brown running his mouth? Is it Nick Sirianni? I'm falling back to the offensive strategy in the play call, which comes down to Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni. And Nick Sirianni's not going to lose his job. Okay, let's face it. He is a good coach. He is not a good game day coach. And what I mean by that is he cannot call plays. He's not efficient in strategizing. He might be a strategy wizard during the week, but he's not strategy on game day. But they've taken a talented roster on offense, and they've made them subpar. They're not even mediocre. They are a subpar team. And it's, like you said, offensive line. And I just have to, for 5 seconds, put into context the whole Jalen Hurts bullshit, you know. Oh, he is the reason that they lost or didn't lose the game. He's the reason that they didn't put up points. He's the reason they didn't put up yards. Let's put that into context. He was 0 for 7 in the second half, okay? First pass, throwaway. Okay, that's an incompletion, but what are you going to do? They're covered, okay? Second pass, throwaway because Steen can't get off his fat ass and make a goddamn combo block. Instead, the guy passes him, and he looks back. He's like, oh, hey, well, just go hit the quarterback. Why don't you go hit him? You know, take out his ribs or something. So that's the second one. The third one, bad decision. Hurts made a slant throw to A.J. Brown. He was covered. Good deflection. The fourth pass, I'm going to need to do a different segment on.
I think you're going to, if you comment about this pass that's going to happen, we need to pause right there because both you and I have a couple of comments on it.
I'm not going to comment. I'm just going to say it was an incompletion to Devonte Smith. That's all. The next one.
And we're coming back to this because we got to open that shit up.
The next one was a throwaway as the pocket collapsed on him. Again, what do you want him to do? The next one, a throwaway. Nobody's open. Throw the ball away. And the last one is Devonte Smith's drop, which we then heard a 10-minute conversation about leather versus plastic from Tom Brady. And you know that the offense is stalling when you have to talk about the material of one's gloves in certain weather conditions. So he
was going on for a lot longer. First of all,
ridiculous.
The entire episode, the entire game, what he talked about was the plastic gloves and switching because when the plastic gets wet, it's slippery, but when it's nice and dry, it's tacky, and that's why you should go with the leather gloves. And he must – you know what? I want to go back to his transcript and see how many times he talked about this leather glove deal. And, yes, that's how boring the game was offensively for the Eagles.
Yeah, so I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting 4 throwaways in 7 passes, 2 – let's call them incompletions, and 1 deflection. What do you want him to do, people? First off, it's egregious that you called only 7 passes. Let's throw that out there. And it's egregious that you, in a rain, sleet, snowstorm, can't call a goddamn screen pass. And I'm not talking about one of those, let's screen it to the 170-pound soaking wet wide receiver, on the outside. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, when's the last time we set up a running back screen? When's the last time we saw our offensive lineman down the field blocking on a pass play? I mean, again, Dickerson's whiffing on blocks. Again, he's like, how you doing? Hurts. There you go. Steen.
Hurts, you got this? You got this, man? All right, cool.
Steen's like, I'm tired. Hurts, just scramble off to the right and throw it away so they could criticize you in the media for having another
incomplete pass. I don't understand how he's tired, though, because there's so many, what were there, 5, 6, 3 and outs in the second half, or the third quarter, whatever it is ridiculous. And
it's just the play of these guys. And, that's not even an offensive strategy thing. Let's throw that out there. Your line blocking, if you're talking about wham blocks, you're talking about cut blocks, all that stuff, that is strategy because that is a design of the play. We're talking about one-on-one blocks and then sometimes combo blocks. And they're missing it routinely. I've never seen anything like it. They are missing it routinely. And it's a shame because they're wasting Saquon Barkley at this point. Saquon, we've seen it, when he has a moment to actually get downfield, he's making plays. When he's hit in the backfield, I don't care if you're Emmitt Smith, I don't care if you're Barry Sanders back there, they're not running for much with this line. And it's a summary of this season, really, where you can't put your finger on it because this is a line that's dominated. This is a line that made DeAndre Swift look fantastic. This is a line that made Miles Sanders look like an all-pro. LaShawn McCoy is a different story. He was fantastic. This is a line that somewhat similar had LeGarrette Blount and Jay Ajayi working good. It's just outrageous. I don't understand what has happened. I don't know if it's complacency. I don't know if it's a Super Bowl hangover. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's so unfathomable, and I just can't get it, and I'm trying to find an explanation. But one thing I did want to point out, I know I'm taking a lot of time here, and I apologize.
You're all good.
No, I apologize. We go back to Kevin Patullo. There's one key thing that I saw, and I think it was because of the weather. I really do. That we ran against the Raiders and we ran against Washington that we didn't do. Hurts designed runs, whether that be a draw, whether that be the RPO where he holds the ball around the edge. I didn't see any of that this game. And I honestly think they played scared. And what I mean by that, I think they played scared that they didn't want Hurts running the ball, slipping and tearing up an ankle or tearing up a knee because the fields were bad. But in the NFL, if you play to not get injured, you're going to get injured. That's a simple fact. You're playing scared, and then all of a sudden you turn around and the other team is back in the game like we saw. It's such a combo thing, but we need to go back to that. When Hurts was running, I think he had 7 carries for 40 yards last game. When he presents the threat to run, that is our offense. That is what opens things up. If we don't do that, if we are a straight drop back passing team or a straight single back running team, we are not good. Flat out, we're just not good.
Well, Dan, let me actually present this because we didn't really talk about the running game. And there's a huge difference. First of all, there's 3 running backs. Saquon, you got Tank. And then you
Do we really have Tank? Do we really have Tank?
Well, that's actually a huge question that I want to talk about because Tank is a mean runner. And when I say about it, that is, first of all, I'm not going to bash Saquon. Saquon's a good guy. Saquon, I love it. He's a really good running back. I do think he does a little bit of more dancing in the background, but is that the play calling? Is that the line that's there? He's looking for the hole, realizes that Malata, Steen, and Dickerson are shoved in the hole because they can't get off their blocks, that he can't get anywhere. Is that not his problem? When it comes to Saquon, you notice it takes a little more time for him to get out of the backfield, and thus everybody's in there. But when Tank has the ball, why is it completely different? Why is Tank not getting stopped? Now, we only see him twice a game. In fact, did we even see him once, like, touch the ball this last game?
Yeah, probably not.
I don't even recall
Which
Tank
is criminal.
touching the ball. It is. First of all, I think you should split the load, a 60-40 right now. Literally start getting Tank on. Why did you invest in him? Why did you get him? I don't understand that shit. I don't understand why we don't utilize Tank more, because you want to cater to Saquon and let him get going and everything. He's not. And in some cases, it's okay that he's not going. That's why you've got 2. Well, technically you got 3, but we're not going to count Shipley, because anytime anybody sees Shipley in there, he's just a block. You know they're not throwing to him. You know he's going to mess it up. In fact, I liked, Shipley for a while. I thought he had a lot of heart and everything on there, but he's having an off year on that. But why are we not utilizing Tank more? Nothing against that. KP, get off your high horse there and stop saying we're going to use Saquon up the middle, Saquon out the side, because you're getting so many negative. Go back to all your tapes. Look at those. How many negative yards are you getting per game utilizing the same play over and over with the same personnel on there? Switch some shit up, some changes that are going to happen in the game. Throw Tank in there. Say, hey, listen, Tank, we're going to start feeding you. I want to give you 10. Literally, I want to see how you're going to do on 10 of these. If you're not, we're putting Saquon in. Come on now.
Completely agree. Like you said, Shipley, he comes in, he's either a blocker or it's 3rd and 15 and he's getting an inside draw. That's it. That's the only time you see him. And that's the only
he's
time.
He's going to get like 3, and it's ridiculous. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing...
I don't want to see him. I don't. I like Tank. You made an in-season trade for Tank Bigsby, and I know he was to be your kick returning guy, okay? And he failed astronomically at that, okay? You failed that experiment. But the fact is that he's an off-pace runner. Like you said, if we want to be a tough, hard-nosed offense and a run-first team, first off, we need to find somebody who can fucking block a cold out there, but... we need that 2-headed monster. Run the ball 30 times a game. Give Saquon, like you said, give him 20 touches and give Bigsby 10 to 15 touches. Because Bigsby runs, like you said, he runs hard. He runs angry. And that's what we need. And I just don't get it. The offensive philosophy is not tailored to this team. It is like watching a square peg in a round hole. It's not working. And there was something that brings me back to Kellen Moore last year. Kellen Moore came in and he said in his introductory press conference, they said, Kellen, what type of offense do you run? He says, I don't have a set offense. I tailor my offensive strategy to the players I have, because it doesn't matter what kind of strategy I run, whether it be run and gun, West Coast, whatever, it's not going to work for everybody. So you saw a fundamental shift of running the ball, play action pass, whatever, to the point of, oh, the passing game isn't working, whatever. But you're not seeing that here. You're seeing I'm going to force this offensive philosophy on you, Hurts, in the offense, and either you're going to make it work or you're screwed. And right now, I just hope to God us winning these games is not masking the true problem here. Because if we, by some miracle, if we go on a run and we start winning, but in the playoffs, but we're winning 13-10, whatever, there is no way, I don't care what the win-loss record is, that Kevin Patullo holds on to his job. There can't be. I don't care if they're friends. I don't care if they're buddies. I don't care if they take a knitting class together. There's no way that Kevin Patullo should be coaching an offense. And there's no way that Sirianni should be running the offense on game day. We need an experienced play caller. Enough of this in-house horse shit that doesn't work. Brian Johnson was a disaster. Okay, throw him out. Enough of this. The only in-house candidate that worked was Shane Steichen. And I'm sorry, Shane Steichen's a good coach. He's getting a raw deal out there in Indy because they just don't have the talent. But enough of this. We need an experienced play caller out there. It's obviously not going to happen this year. And all I could say is I hope to God that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie, which I think they do because they're very smart people, are sitting up there saying, the reason we might not make this run is because of this offense.
One of the things that they need to see and realize is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. If you look at KP and his decisions for running Saquon up the center because of the offensive line or right to the side and getting negative yards, that is insane. And that's what he keeps doing. And Nick Sirianni allowing that to happen is crazy beyond all belief. You know this offseason, and in fact, if that does not change this offseason, I think there's going to be a lot of people upset. KP cannot last past this season. They did not make that change after the horrendous loss to the Bears on Black Friday. They should have. It was the best time to change it. No, what they did then is Nick's like, I'm going to take over and help the guy out a little bit. We're going to draw together. We're going to make X's and O's and a nice play call. Yeah, that works for the 5 freaking plays. After that, it doesn't work. You got to change it up. You have to adapt. The other team came in with a play, right? They had a plan. Their defense was going to run all over you, and they are going to change it up. Look at freaking defense. And, in fact, we didn't even get to that shit, but look at the defense and how adaptive Vic is in changing it. You have to do that in offense. You cannot be satisfied. You cannot be satisfied that you are putting your defense out there, draining them time and time again because they are kicking ass, and there you are doing 3 and outs, so many of those, and getting what? What they get, 17 yards in the second? 17 yards in the second half. Listen, a high school team could have got more yards. This is ridiculous. You've got to change some shit up.
You got to change the philosophy up, absolutely. And this is one of the highest paid offenses in the league. Pretty much everybody, I mean, I don't know what the hell's going to happen with A.J. Brown. Before, when he started his shit, I would have said he's gone, but he did just put up 1,000 yards in what was, I guess, an off season for him. It's really going to come down to he's going to have a talk with Howie, and they're going to figure out if he wants to be here. I don't know what's going to happen to that. Goddard is a free agent. I don't know if you're going to be able to afford to re-sign him with the stuff you have on defense, but this is pretty much an offense that's going to come back and run it back again. I missed Jahan Dodson's a free agent, so there goes that. But, our key players are going to come back, and you cannot run it back with those players and the same philosophy and think that anything is going to change. Like you said, insanity. You're just going to keep doing the same goddamn thing over and over again. And thank God for our defense. The defense is the reason why we're 11-5 right now. I can't believe that we have this many deficiencies on one side of the ball and still are playing for a second seed. I have to step back and be like, really? We're playing for a second seed and we're not just trying to get into the playoffs? It's crazy to me.
Dan, I want to take a few moments before we really talk about the defense because I want to spend some time on them. I know this next segment here is going to ruffle some feathers and ruffle, however you want to say it, some feathers. Of course, it is the refs. The refs were horrible in this game. Horrible to the Eagles. Let me tell you what. So I'm going to go through a couple, and Dan, you can break some of these down. First of all, the late hit to Jalen and out of bounds. What the hell were you doing that? The holding A.J. Brown's arm, and he almost still did a one-handed catch. And even Tom Brady was like, man, that should have been holding, call on a freaking pass interference. The Devonte Smith catch, it was ruled a catch. There was nothing conclusive to overturn that. I'm sorry. He put himself out there. He had his hand under the ball. He controlled it the entire way. Okay, I'm not sure what the over-under of this game was, and I think it was 1.5, so it came down to the 1 point. That was it. The catch by Shavers, was it? Who caught that one?
By Buffalo. Yep.
So that one was not a catch. They didn't even show the other angles. Did you notice that? You notice they stayed on the one angle where he came down on his chest, the ball was behind, and you couldn't visibly see it, but yet it was right there on the ground. He didn't. If you wanted to call the Smith one back, you should have called that back. Just the ridiculous things that were happening all around is just horrible. And the refs completely, they're just getting worse and worse every week.
And it's not just, so let's start this out and say, it's not just the Eagles, okay? We watch enough NFL. We're going to bitch about the way that the Eagles were robbed in this game, but, it goes both ways. In this day and age of all this technology, I mean, they can basically tell us, who farted on the goddamn offensive line at this point because they have analytics, to say who shit themselves over here. It doesn't matter. You got analytics for everything. You got, who's going to, run the ball. What's your probabilities? A yards over expected. Why are we in a day and age where we cannot stop the game for 5 seconds to fix an egregious call? Okay? You don't have to open up the can of worms, NFL. When you have a guy in the booth that is watching every single play, and you have a guy in the booth because Tom Brady and whatever broadcast always flips to him and says, what do you think of that call? Oh, that was definitely a penalty. What do you think of that call? It definitely wasn't a penalty. If it's egregious calls, you're ruining the integrity of the goddamn game with your incompetence out there, your blatant incompetence out there. I mean, Jesus Christ. How can you justify Jalen Hurts being hit out of bounds that late? If that was Mahomes, the player would have been booked on assault. Okay? That's enough of that. The Shavers catch, I thought it was a catch, but when you look back and he falls back, and I forget who it was, the linebacker hits him in the center. The ball, he's laying on the ground. The ball squirts out and touches the ground, okay? How can you call that a catch? Devonte Smith.
Oh, that was horrible.
How is that not a catch? How?
Yep.
Yes, the ball hit the ground, but he had the ball cradled. The ball never squirted, changed direction, slid. There was nothing there that could overturn that call. Ridiculous. Deep pass to A.J. Brown, and I've seen it constant. Last night there was another egregious thing. I think it was on, I don't know, but probably, one of the receivers for the Rams. But again, his arms being held back. You have a clear camera angle, and I understand the refs sometimes don't see it, which I don't understand that because there's a ref standing that his one job is to go like this and just stare at the play. How is he not seeing that? And if he doesn't see it and it's that egregious, why can't New York or the guy in the booth radio down and say, hey, you're an asshole. You didn't make that call. Maybe you should get some new glasses because you're a fucking retard and you're ruining the integrity of this game. Call the penalty. It's ridiculous. And
what about the leveling of Devonte Smith? Past 5 yards. They leveled him. Took him out of the play. Yet there was nothing. I mean, that was totally obvious. I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell that was. But the refs, literally play after play, you saw them take him out. He literally went like this and took him out. That was intentional. If it was on the other side of the ball of it taken out, it would be called offensive pass interference. Mm-hmm. And you'd be bitching about that. Yet he wasn't. He stepped up. If you watch that play, Devonte was running his route, and he came in and stepped up and freaking leveled him. And how'd you not make that call? How did the refs miss a receiver on the ground?
Yeah, like you said, beyond 5 yards. And the fact is that you saw the guy. The guy was not making a play to go cover a receiver in the flat. He was not making a play to cut Devonte Smith off. He basically took a basketball charge and just went like this and just rocked him because he wasn't seeing it. So the way that I get it now is the NFL basically is coming down to this. You're allowed to tackle guys out of bounds. You're allowed to level them and decapitate them over the middle, and it's no longer a penalty, as long as it's not the offense doing it, because that would be offensive pass interference.
And as long as the Vegas books are in favor.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing. Yeah, and you know what? The things like this, it makes the conspiracy theorists out there who say games are fixed just look at the screen and be like, wow, the aliens really did build the pyramids. Holy shit. It's just, you get those people that are just out there in their socks, in their underwear, betting on FanDuel saying, all right, the refs aren't going to make this call at this time, so I'm going to go the over on this. It's so stupid. It's just, I have to laugh because it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
But it feels like it's coming through with everything. Okay, Dan, I got to switch gears because we didn't spend any time yet on this defense. We've only commented.
And I feel bad for that, too.
I do. And in fact, I think everything I've ever watched, right, leading up to our recording is that everybody wants to talk about the defense, but how do you give them props when it's horrible that the offense is making them look bad? First of all, I'm switching gears over to the defense. Holy shit, Vic Fangio, you're an MVP. Everybody on that defense has stepped up. They are playing lights out. I do not blame them for the 12 points at all. And in fact, you cannot be upset at them for any of the points that were there because they were exhausted. When your offense is putting them out there and only giving them a 2.5-minute break and a TV timeout to catch their breath, they are unbelievable. From Jalen Carter doing his Davis, Zach Bond, freaking Cooper DeJean, holy shit. And in fact, I'll swing back to Cooper in a second. Reed Blankenship, Epps in there. Adori Jackson had a little bit of soft coverage in a number of things, but it was still good. The Quinyon Mitchell, yeah, there was one, but that was it. There was nothing on that. And in fact, they are playing awesome. The one thing I got to point out, in fact, Jalen Hunt, holy crap, just the way he is playing lately. Jahad Campbell, I love the turnover Zach Bond did coming in there, and that bounces off his foot, rolling down there. And I think it was Jalen Hunt beating the lineman down and getting the ball. That was awesome. And even though it wasn't a turnover, freaking Cooper DeJean pushing the guy out of the way.
That was perfect.
That's mine. That was awesome. First of all, defense, please keep playing the way you are, and I apologize for the offense.
That's a great way to put it. On behalf of the entire offense, we apologize. We're going to become one-dimensional and hope to God that you can help us.
Defense wins championships, baby. And as long as if the defense can get a couple pick six, we don't have to worry about KP that to the end of the shit because they are just going to roll it. I'll tell you what, the defense, if they can keep going and playing the way they are, we have a standing chance against any team out there, regardless of how crappy our offense is playing. But we can't do it alone. I just think their points need to be put up. Not only that, special teams, we need to get some good opportunities there. But defense, you guys are playing phenomenal.
Absolutely. If I would have told you, and we even said it at the beginning of the year, if I would have told you that CJGJ, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Darius Slay, who is it? Brandon Graham, who's back now, but he retired. If I would have told you that all those players were going to leave in the offseason on a number, I don't know what they were. I think they were number one, but on a great defense. And we wouldn't miss a stride. In fact, these past few weeks, we've been better than that. You would have said, what are you smoking? Because I want some. And it's just crazy.
Didn't they have 11 personnel leave? I think you and I were talking about it. I think they had somewhere around 11.
Oh, yeah, not counting starters, absolutely.
Yeah, not counting starters. And you and I, our biggest concern going into this season was defense.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Epps, this guy wasn't on a roster, and he comes in there and he's playing really well. I didn't like to see him in coverage. There were a few times that they brought a blitz and he was in coverage. I really don't think that's his strong suit, but I can't sit back here and say, Vic, what the hell were you thinking? Because he was a wizard the rest of the game. But it's just, this defense is amazing. The pass rush completely woke up. And whether that be the coming of Jalen Phillips, finally getting some edge pressure, but the other guys are starting to set up too. Like you said, Jalen Hunt, we all thought would take a big step forward. He's been really mediocre this year, but the last few weeks, he's really gotten into his stride. Nolan Smith is kind of, you don't really hear too much from him. Brandon Graham he didn't play much in this game because Jalen Carter coming back, but he's been good. Carter, we know, finally played like a beast. And Jordan Davis, he's playing amazing. I mean, there isn't a level of this defense other than I still hate Adori Jackson because the off coverage is ridiculous. And I know
that's where they got him.
Well,
that's where they got him for this game. He was playing, 8 to 10 off?
Yeah, and he's doing that on purpose, because he gets beat deep. He's doing it because he doesn't want to get beat deep. But that does you no good when they're running a 8-yard out route or a 3-yard curl route or whatever, and he's backpedaling to start. I don't understand why he's backpedaling when the route starts, considering he's got 10 yards to decide what he's going to do. But, I mean, it's the defensive line that's really masking that deficiency we have out there. And, Quinyon, he had a questionable call. I don't know what the hell that call. Whatever.
So I know that call, and I'm going to go back. I want to jump on that real quick. When you first look at that, even everybody that was commentating on it, and I'm not a big Brady fan, he's like, yeah, even the ref they brought in, the head ref, they're like, you know what, I'm not really sure. The thing that I saw in the replay was he was right here, right within so, okay, listen, I'll give it to you, Quinyon, because you have been lights out the entire year. If that's what you did because the conditions warranted or because you messed up and didn't mean to slide down there, all right, whatever it is. The refs, I can't say they got one right or finally got one right. That was one that I wasn't upset with them about it because they were playing phenomenal.
But I don't want to go off on the refs. I swear to God, I don't want to go off on the refs. But where's the consistency, okay? And if you're going to call that, which is pretty ticky-tack, you're not going to call a guy that's arm-barred out there? How can you see that, but you can't see a guy that's pretty much getting a limb cut off? Okay. Anyway, everybody on every level is playing really well on defense, and they are, like you said, they're going to keep us competitive in these games against the top-tier, talent, because you've seen it. We've played Chicago. We've played the Rams. We haven't played the Niners yet, but we played Green Bay. We've played Tampa Bay, who looks like they're not even going to make the damn playoffs, but whoever comes out of the South is not going to make it past the first round anyway, so who cares? We played top-tier talent, and yet we win because our defense is just crushing it. And the offense has to wake up, and the philosophy change has to happen. But this defense is just unbelievable. I mean, the hits they were laying on them, the effort, it's just...
The tackles, they're right there. They're to the ball. Everybody is on man, and they're breaking through and actually being able to wrap them up. Or the one-on-one, I mean, Reed Blankenship in there. That was just phenomenal for him to take him out. I just felt like that was a Derrick Henry with Cooper DeJean where Reed was in there too, and just literally, I think the entire defense, with the exception of some lax players who were just there or, some mediocre, was great. To be honest with you, I'm not totally upset at Adori Jackson and his play, only because the rest, like you said, are masking the crap that they're doing. I did... I think it sucks that Nakobe Dean's not in hamstring, but hopefully he's better for round one of the playoffs. But God only knows about it. Anyway, the entire defense, I don't know. There's just not anything bad I can really fully say about them. Hats off to them. Vic, for all his change-ups and tailoring. Oh, you know what he does? In-game adjustments.
Oh.
It's hilarious.
Holy crap.
He masked his everything, too, and he's like, hey, listen, we saw it before, but we didn't see it this way because they switched it up this way, and they led that one. I mean, Zach Bond, phenomenal and everything. Jalen Phillips, just ever since him coming over from Miami, just they are playing so well.
Yeah, that's the word of the day, boys and girls, in-game adjustments. It's a crazy concept. Vic is a fantastic coach, and, when you sit back and you think about it, you really get a greater appreciation for him because fans like myself, fans like you, we've sat through Juan Castillo, we've sat through Billy Davis, We've sat through Jim Schwartz, who at times was good, but his defense with that wide 9 got tore up a lot. We've sat through Jonathan Gannon. I mean, we've sat through some horrible... Well, Matt Patricia. Oof. Well, that was a Sean Desai promotion, but we've sat through some horse shit. I mean, this is a defense that makes you proud to be a Philadelphia fan. It takes you back to the Jim Johnson days. They're not blitzing like Jim Johnson used to do, God bless him, but they really are just a fundamentally sound defense who just everybody comes up, other than Adori Jackson, who doesn't want to tackle for anything. Everybody comes up. You never see just one guy tackling the ball carrier. It's always multiple. This is a great defense. This is a very good defense. And, Nakobe Dean is a great player. Do not get me wrong. He is a fantastic player. But am I going to be sad and think that we'll take a step back if we don't re-sign him in the offseason? No, because Jahad Campbell is a beast. He is a great linebacker. Not always the strongest against the run, but to get a coverage linebacker like he is, it's invaluable. And it'll
save a lot of money because Nakobe Dean, you and I were talking about this 2 episodes ago, where we need to re-sign Nakobe Dean. Now that he's getting injured again, it's where you look at who you have, and I think Jahad Campbell is one of those players that, while he's probably a little bit less than Dean, he is still very efficient and effective at what he does.
Yeah, agreed. It's not like the defense is going to be taken a step back because Dean isn't re-signed. It is a position in which you can save some money by keeping that first-round pick, because let's face it, we'll get into it when the season's over, but they are going to have some tough decisions to make on the defensive side of the ball because of the money that you allocated to an offense that can't generate a goddamn first down in the second half. So you've got $200 million on the offense, you got $50 million on the defense, and you only have $10 million to spend. Obviously, these numbers are way off, but you get my point that you allocated so much on the offensive side of the ball, which can't do jack shit, and the defensive side of the ball, which you're paying pennies at this point, is crushing it. So some decisions are going to have to be made, but this defense, oof. Thank God this defense is so good, because if I had to sit there and watch the defense play as subpar as the offense, I would sit here in this broadcast and just be like this: John, is there really anything to talk about this week? Is there anything to talk about? I mean, the Eagles suck. Let's play for that first-round pick, buddy. Woo. That would be the conversation. So thank God for this defense.
Dad, let's talk about next week's game. They are playing Washington Redskins Commanders football team at 4:25 Eastern time on Sunday. The big question here is they have an opportunity. Unfortunately, it depends upon the Bears losing, and the Bears play at 4:25 as well. Do you play your starters or not? Do you go for that number 2 seed on Sunday in hopes that the Bears lose, but you played your starters and they didn't lose, and you end up with the number 3 seed anyway?
It is the conundrum, because they had an early bye this year, and so to get another bye would be great. But the only way I personally would have said rest the starters regardless of the seeding is if the offense came out and performed the way they did. But let's face it, the defense is basically going to be lumped into this because they have to play if the offensive starters are going to play. But I have to play the starters in this game because I need to get some kind of offensive momentum going in. And I know it's going to be one of those where it's just the Commanders, so is that going to be a sign of things to come? But I would play the starters. And I would play the starters for another reason, being Chicago's playing Detroit in Chicago. Okay, that is a hard game for them. And I actually feel that Detroit can beat Chicago. I don't know, though, because Detroit looks like they phoned it in a little bit. But If it comes down to it, I would much rather play the Packers as the 2 seed than I would play the Rams, or I think at this point they could play the Seahawks. No, not the Seahawks. The Rams or the 49ers. So there's no way in hell, I don't care how they played in the first half last night, that I want any part of the Rams. I don't. Because, yes, we always beat them, but they are a great team. They are the NFC favorite for pretty much 2/3 of the year until they lost, well, didn't lose, but until Devonte Adams went down and they've been subjected to Puka Nacua getting every single pass. So I don't want any part of that. I want Green Bay because Green Bay is the biggest frauds I've seen. And they are not a playoff-worthy team right now. I don't care if Malik Willis started this past weekend. Before Jordan Love went down anyway, they were not playing well. I don't think Jordan Love is all that great that everybody seems to think, oh, he's a great quarterback. I think we can beat them. We could beat them handily, and our path to the Super Bowl would be so much easier if we're the 2 seed. Because remember as well, if we're the 3 seed, we are pretty much guaranteed to not, if we win, we're not going to have a home game in the second round. Because chances are, if we win, I think it actually is automatic because of the way that the seeding would work. We automatically would then go to Chicago for our second round game, which I think we can win, but it would be a lot easier to go to Green Bay and then whoever comes out of the wild card go to Philly. That's just the way that it is, and I would play the starters personally. Now, I'm playing the starters in hopes that Chicago does go out there and lose, which probably won't happen, but I'm hopeful. But at the same time,
I don't think Chicago's defense or 49ers defense is anywhere to be concerned about.
No.
That's the thing that's going to work in our offensive favor, or should, but the way our offense plays against a even mediocre defense I think Black Friday was a total fluke. I think at that point, like, I don't know, KP should have just been fired before then or whatever, but I think they should play their starters. Why? I agree with you. I think they should go into the playoffs with momentum. If they play their starters and they are crushing it offensively by the third quarter, take them out for the fourth and rest them, whatever it is, which is fine because you're winning. You need to win. Don't play to not lose because we don't need another 13-12. And yes, while the game is a deciding factor between second and third with the hopes of the Bears losing, which I think is potential that, yes, because the Lions are not in any playoff contention, they still might play spoiler alert because it's fun to do. I'm not concerned about the Bears. I'm not concerned about the 49ers in their defense whatsoever. I agree with you. I think playing the Packers would just be one of those games like we've already beat them. We're going to go in and crush them as well.
Yeah.
So starters for this Sunday.
No, completely agree. And I'm with you. I personally am not sold on the 49ers. I understand they win. But the way that I look at it is they have one player and nobody can seem to guard him. And that's Christian McCaffrey. He gets the ball in almost every single goddamn play. And I think that actually works in our favor because we have two of the most athletic linebackers in the league in Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell, who I don't want to say they can cover him one-on-one because Christian McCaffrey is one of two maybe with Saquon Barkley and the way that he can run the ball and, you know, catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield, but whatever. I think that we can guard him, and the fact that nobody makes adjustments to guard him is just egregious. I don't think, when it comes down to it in the NFC playoffs, I think Chicago, not frauds, but I don't think they're that great, okay? I think if you heat up Caleb Williams, it's going to be over. I still don't believe in Sam Darnold and Seattle. I don't. 49ers, I'm not sold on their defense, and their offense, I just don't see the firepower on that offense. And the only team that I have a problem with are the Rams, and I honestly feel that if we play the Rams in the first game, Philadelphia Eagles fans, we might be seeing a one and done if this offense doesn't show up. because you can't put up 13 points against the Rams and expect to win. I'm sorry. Even if your defense is playing fantastic, you're probably going to let up 17 to 20 points. You're going to have to come out and you're going to have to score some points on the offensive side of the ball. So, and I can't sit here and say that they're going to do that because it seems like we only have our offense figured out when we play a subpar defense. And the Rams defense is no joke. I know they got lit up a little bit last night against the Falcons, but I honestly think that was not a trap game, but I don't think they took the Falcons seriously. I wouldn't take the Falcons seriously. So,
yeah, I'm no comment on the Falcons. I just don't think they were. I mean, Kirk Cousins is awesome, right?
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of money. Cha-ching. But anyway, going back real quick to even the Bears or the 49ers, when you watch them play on Sunday night, that was a total offensive game, and that's kind of the deciding factor that their defenses really suck. And I think on Black Friday when the Eagles played the Bears, it was one of those, where were our defenses? How did they understand? Could they run all over it? I don't think that's going to happen again. I think we have enough information here to go on it. And Dan, before I wrap it up, and this is going to be a tough decision because we're saying play the starters, but if they don't play the starters, it could be a deciding factor on win-lose. What is your prediction for Sunday's game against Washington?
So I am taking into account that they're going to play the starters, and I do think that we're going to look at I'm going to go with that 13 number. I'm going to go with 24-13 Eagles on this one. But as an addendum to that, I do not think that they get the 2 seed. I just don't.
So what did you say, 24-13?
24-13, and I honestly think we're going to see the Rams in the first round, and it scares the shit out of me, to be honest with you.
Well, so I'm still undecided on this. Is very difficult, so I'm going to have to just kind of wing it. When you think about it, are they going to play the starters? Well, at the time of recording this, it's still undecided on the Eagles side, and I do think that they should get the offense and play again because for some reason we're here in Week 18 and we can't decide what the heck we're doing offensively and how well we're going to play and change some stuff up and improve on our stuff. So it's a concerning thing. Are we going to play the starters or not? I think we are or should. Let's just go with the deciding that they are going to play the starters. Now, if it was a 4:25 game and the Bears played at 1 o'clock, then I think we can addend this that, we can change our stuff that they're going to lose because it doesn't matter, blah, 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 however you want to do it. They are going to play the starters. It's going to be 21-10 Eagles. But I am going to go with the hopes that they are getting the number 2 seed because for some reason the Lions are going to come out and play spoiler.
And I want them to play the starters. I do, and I think they might. But to add a little caveat to that is I'm thinking back to Sirianni's press conference yesterday. He laid a lot of nuggets in there about how in 22, they rested the starters in the last game. In 24, they rested the starters in the last game. And he even mentioned specifically that when he didn't rest the starters against in the last game and they lost against Tampa Bay, he pretty much laid the nuggets out there that said, when I rest the starters, we win in the first, or we go far in the playoffs. So he might very well rest the starters, which I think is a mistake because I think we rested the starters in the other situations because we had things locked up and because we knew our offensive identity. But it's Week 18, and you and I are still sitting here saying, what on the offensive side of the ball is, 1, our identity, and 2, name one thing on the offensive side of the ball that we actually do well that could set us aside from another team. Because our tush-push doesn't work. Our running game doesn't work.
Oh, my God, we didn't even talk about that, how the Bills did the tush-push 2 to 3 times, and nobody was bitching about that. Yet there was a recap, a video of Sean McDermott going, yeah, we need to ban the tush-push. It's not blah, blah, blah. I mean, literally said that shit, yet he utilized it. So, anyway.
I just can't think of anything that the offensive side of the ball does well to be able to say that we're going to make some noise. I really do think that we have a chance. We do have a chance to go far into the playoffs. But at the same time, if we play the Rams on wild card Sunday or Saturday, that will be the hardest test. I think if we beat them, I think it's going to be easier. But again, the Rams are the one team I've thought for weeks I don't want to play. I don't care that they lost 2 in a row. They haven't had Devonte Adams. Devonte Adams will be back, people. They are going to have him. They have a good defense. They have still...
They opened the window for him, didn't they?
Yeah. And they have the number 1 ranked, or the number 1 scoring offense. So it's no joke. I just don't feel that we can win a shootout. I don't.
Well, here's the other thing that I'm going to put out there before we close things out is, haven't the offense had enough rest with all the 3 and outs?
Yeah. Isn't that enough of a bye?
Literally. I mean, they just had one the second half of the game against the Bills. So why do we need to rest them? They weren't out there longer than 3 minutes a clip. So if you or even 2 minutes a clip. So what was it? 2, 6, 18 minutes? Man, they didn't even play like the half of the half. So I think they're rested.
If they were so rested, why are they so bad? That's my thing.
Well, that's the guy that's calling the plays and the guy that's saying that he's helping them call the plays, but is not really anymore, and he's letting them out. Dan, before I even wrap it up, I know we didn't even talk about the 2-point conversion. Would you have gone for 2 points at the end there? What was the decision on this?
I personally wouldn't have. I would have kicked the extra point, and I would have had confidence that I'm going to go into overtime and I'm going to kick the Eagles' ass, because the fact was that the defense, you have to look at it situationally, in that your offense was beating our defense, the Bills, that is. They're starting to beat our defense, and that was because the defense was on the field for so long. The offense, you're really going to say that the offense for the Philadelphia Eagles was going to go out there and beat you, considering that they couldn't even generate a first down in the second half? I don't think so.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I would have kicked the extra point. I have no clue why they decided to go for 2 and end this game. If you look at how well the game was played, first of all, and when I say how well the game was played, the deciding factor, our offense completely sucked for the Eagles in the second half, but how well it was played by the defense. And at the end of the game, the defense was getting very tired, and I don't even put that on them. I don't even blame them for it. And the Bills were going down the field doing the bend, don't break, and pushing them back. And while they were getting into maybe the 30 or 40-yard line, they would have easily just kicked a field goal. The weather sucked, but I think it was doable. And then you would have had to rely on the Eagles to actually get a first down and get over 17 yards in a series. And it just wasn't possible for the Eagles. I don't know what the decision there for it. I mean, I know Sean Mader was an intern for the Eagles.
I know where you're going with this.
Maybe, I don't know, had some love there for Jeffrey Lurie. I'm just saying, I don't know why you would go for 2 points. I mean, aggressive, but Josh Allen was not playing Josh Allen the way he does. And at that point, I would have just went for the extra point. And then let's see how the next series plays out in overtime.
Yeah, there's two
I don't
parts.
think the Eagles would have won then. I have to tell you. I do not think they would have won. They came back. They're 0 points in that, and they came back. I don't think the Eagles would have won if they went to overtime.
No, absolutely not. And you have 2 parts of this. You have the analytics side, which says go for 2. And you have just the in-game feel side of things, which says go for the extra point. And if I were Buffalo, if I would have won the coin toss or whatever, I would have actually taken our offense out there first, because I don't want to give the defense, the Eagles, any time to breathe.
Yep.
I would have taken the ball, and, you only have to go, 25, 30 yards in today's NFL to get a field goal. And I would have just went and... Like you said, there's no way in hell that we're winning that game. There's no way. There's no way. Our offense was leaving our defense out to dry. Our defense was tired, and you're absolutely right. There's no way in hell we win that game. So thank you, Sean McDermott, for basically a mercy killing at that point. And allowing Josh Allen to throw wide of the mark because his guy was open. But yeah, I mean,
maybe he wasn't wearing leather gloves.
Yeah, the leather gloves. Oh God.
And I mean, listen, I don't know if the analytics take in the weather accountability, but it was torrential downpour for about 75% of the game. It did stop for a little bit, but other than that, weather probably definitely played a factor in the decision, but not for an extra point. No way. Maybe for a field goal and getting a little closer, but the Bills had no problem getting 7-8 yards a clip here and there. And it's not a knock on the Eagles defense, but that happened late in the third and fourth quarter only because they were exhausted. And I agree with you. If I was on the Bills, I would have taken the ball first so that the defense didn't have a chance to rest and see what we can do with it. Go for that touchdown, then make the Eagles actually put up some yards, because the Eagles play calling in this game, it just seemed like the second half was the same thing. Run, AJ, run, punt.
Yeah, like you said, there were beer commercials and car commercials that were longer than offensive drives for the Eagles. So there's no way in hell that the defense was going to... I mean, those are big guys, but you have them out there for that long, and I don't care if you're the best defense in the world. They're going to be tired, and that's what happened.
All right, everybody, I got to wrap things up, and before I do, Dan, close us out.
Yeah, so I think, honestly, if they rest the starters or don't rest the starters, I think you're still going to look at a win. Like I said, this game was riddled with so many problems, whether it be the offensive side of the ball, whether it be the complete lack of officiating, in which I'm going to remind everybody that they do go to class for that. There is an officiating class in the offseason on how to coach things and how to look at things. So we apparently have flunked out of class, whether it be the conspiracy theorists that are calling Vegas and saying the point spread is this way. You need to basically allow him to crucify Devonte Smith across the middle so that we get our point spread. Regardless, a win is a win is a win. And it seems like every week we make the same statement. But go Birds.
Dan, I'm going to add a little bit to that. And first of all, Vic Fangio, the defense, you guys are playing awesome. Keep it up. We really appreciate it. In fact, us as fans, it's phenomenal to watch how the defense has been playing. Exceptional over the last few weeks. And even all year long, you've been getting better and better. Once again, Dan and I really apologize for how horrible the offense is. And on behalf of all Eagles fans out there, we are so sorry, defense. Please rest up. Until next time, this is the Philly Fan Radio. I'm John Myer along with Dan Palmieri. Go Birds.
Go Birds.